All right, so the question is, what are the biggest mistakes I see in jiu-jitsu sparring? Well, there's a couple things that come to mind, and they're definitely related to each other. One is to mistakenly think that simply because I made the result happen, that the technique must be right. Now, in a certain sense, just to use an example, if I go for a sweep and I really just try and heave my partner over and they fall down, okay, I swept them. But I don't necessarily want to bank that one as like a great mechanical sequence that I'm going to rely on over and over. If I'm sparring and I wanted to sweep my partner, and I did, but it had a whole bunch of strain and fatigue with it, I just want to make sure to come back and make sure I clean up those repetitions so that over time I get better at that actual sweep. I don't want to say that the sweep was wrong, because it wasn't. I swept the guy, he fell over, I got on top, sweep's accomplished. But there's still something to learn from that, and just because I got to the point where I wanted to go doesn't mean it was as good as it can be. So always looking back at the techniques you used to find ways to improve them. The other thing that I see in sparring is if I, let's say, get submitted with an arm lock, okay? The problem was not the step before me being in an arm lock. It wasn't, oh, how do I get out of mount because I keep getting arm locked? The way you tackle those kind of problems is by going as far back in the round as you can to the earliest point where you can affect the system in a way that is somewhat close to neutral. So for example, if someone was mounted on me and they arm locked me, escaping from mount is very difficult to do, especially if the person who mounted you can consistently get to that position. The reason they want to get to mount is because it's hard to get out of. Okay, if it was easy to get out of, they wouldn't go there. So we want to trace back a little more. Maybe they got to side control after a guard pass. Okay, well, side control is not that easy to get out of, especially if you're really fighting them off and they passed your guard and got to side control. But if we go back one more step, okay, they were in my butterfly guard, and then I was trying to do this sweep, and I was trying to get an underhook, and then they passed and got to side control. Now there's a good place to put your attention and start unpacking the problem. Okay, because you're not fighting from a place where you have a huge mechanical disadvantage, like side control, mount, arm lock, and spending time on that butterfly guard is actually going to make you better at getting out of side control, getting out of mount, and getting out of the arm lock. The reason is because when you get better at one specific instance, like butterfly guard, you actually get better at every other position in jiu-jitsu because it's your same skeleton against your opponent's same skeleton. And when you learn to use that more effectively, all of your tools become sharper, okay? So butterfly guard is essentially the side control missing some of the tools. And if I get better at butterfly guard, when I am missing some of those tools, and the guy's got side control on me, I may not be able to get out right away, but I will get better at that, okay? So when you run into a problem like you got submitted with something, don't think you have to then address that moment or even the moment before, or even a couple moments before. Try to go back as far as you can to where you and your partner were close to neutral and work all that stuff out. And if you're pretty fluent there, you got a good handle on what's going on, then they didn't armbar you. That's not going to happen. So keep tracing backwards until you find a place where you can really recognize what was happening, how did they pass your guard, how did they sweep you, and then work on that with your instructor. Pull that stuff apart. The escapes from side control, escapes from mount, escapes from arm bars will come after you have a good amount of confidence with your guard and your guard passing. If you want more videos, please click below to subscribe. If you want to dive in deeper, you can click here to get a free video seminar I did of one of my favorite sequences from standing to submission. And if you have any questions or anything you want to see, please leave it in the comments below.